So the mid-season event for Battlefield 2042 is all but over now. I'm pretty sure actually as this video goes up it will pretty much be officially over, but right now as I'm recording it is still live, and I'm probably going to jump back on for a few games after recording this. But I did just want to give essentially a review on the whole thing. There were plenty of different things that went on during this mid-season event, and I think it is worth talking about because the first one definitely did not go down too well with the community. So without wasting any time, let's jump right into it. So I'm sure you guys played plenty of the Battle of Nordvik event. For those who didn't, there were 3 different modes across 3 different weeks, and there was also some cosmetics to unlock through unlocking ribbons within the game. And the first thing that I want to say was definitely an improvement on the first one. The first one was really set up that it sounded awesome. The mode sounded awesome in the way that you could unlock new skins and everything, and the skins themselves, they looked really good. It was set up to be really, really solid, and by the end of that event, I think most people kind of realized that it just wasn't all that good. Whereas this one, it definitely wasn't still amazing, but it was 100% the better of the 2 events. Now, the first week we got Conquest Assault, which was pretty much just Conquest, but instead of the map starting where obviously all the different sectors are neutral and you've got to spawn in and capture them, it started with one team having all of them and the other team having more tickets. So it really was just Conquest, but one team starts with all the flags. That's literally all it was. I thought it was pretty decent. It wasn't amazing, but it really did just feel like regular Conquest, which on Spearhead is really good. So I definitely can't say it was bad, and it was definitely a little bit of a different spin on the regular Conquest mode, but for me it did also feel pretty similar to Conquest, simply because on that map it is fairly linear already. And so yeah, there were times when I actually kind of forgot that I was even playing a different version of Conquest, which in one way might be actually really good that it didn't really feel that different, but then at the same time that can also be a bad thing because obviously with these limited time modes you want them to be pretty different. Week 2 we then saw the retribution game mode, which I'm going to be honest was absolutely terrible. Now I think the premise of the game, the mode I should say, it was solid, and when it worked well it actually was pretty fun, but this was one of the most poorly balanced game modes that I think I have ever played in my life. I played actually heaps of this mode because I wanted to try and get some games where I actually got to the end of the game, and in all the, I don't know how, I probably would have played like 20 different games and literally made it to the final phase one single time out of all those games. So I think this one had potential, and I think it was one of those modes that probably on paper sounds really good, but just the execution was not all that great, mostly because the balancing was so bad. The defending team just had such a big advantage, I felt. Whether I was defending or attacking, it felt like the game never really got past that first phase, and if it did, it would get through the second phase, and it pretty much was just impossible for the attacking team to take it. And so yeah, the balancing of this mode was just genuinely terrible. When it did work, it was actually really fun. The final phase kind of opened from like, it went from breakthrough into rush essentially, and it was actually pretty fun. But like I said, if you get there 1 out of 20 times, that's, yeah, the balancing definitely needs some tuning. Now week 3 then saw breakthrough chaos, which was essentially 128 player breakthrough, but then it also had some smaller little changes to it, like the throw distance on your grenades and stuff like that. It was a little bit different, but the key thing here was the 128 player breakthrough, and I'm not going to lie, this was easily the best of the 3 for me. It actually kind of made me miss 128 player breakthrough, which obviously when the game launched was not ideal. The performance of that mode was just absolutely shocking, and a lot of the map design, I'm thinking back to the times playing like Hourglass and the final sector, there was just one flag on top of one of the skyscrapers, and like that was terrible. But playing this kind of made me miss that a little bit, because there were times in that where it was just genuine chaos, and it was actually a pretty fun mode. It was just that most of the maps, they just did not flow very well, and then obviously the performance was really, really affecting the mode when it was 128 players. So for me, this was definitely the best of the lot. It was just genuine chaos. There was no like strategy or anything. It was just literally sprint at the flags. The defending team just had to try and survive as long as they could and hold the enemy team off, and the attacking team, you pretty much just hit the send button, and that was essentially the entire game mode. So for me, as a pretty chaotic player myself, that was definitely a lot of fun. Now in terms of like the skins and the unlocks and stuff like that, they were definitely okay. They were a lot better than the first event for me personally, mostly just because they were easier to unlock, and it was just a bit more like user friendly, I guess, because the first event obviously it kind of geared it up like it looked like we could unlock heaps of them, and then I'm pretty sure Dozer's skin was the only one you could actually unlock by playing, and the rest of them you had to buy them. So I think the way they ran this one was definitely a lot better. I do still think the skins were decent, but again, they were nothing crazy. None of them actually drew me to like really try and unlock them, and to kind of prove my point, I'm not even sure which ones I unlocked or which ones I didn't, because yeah, they weren't that enticing to me. But I do have to definitely praise the way that they, you know, took the feedback from that first event, which was definitely very divisive within the community, and they did listen to the feedback and change that around. So I think it was definitely a lot better run in that regard than the first event. Overall, I thought the event was definitely a lot better than the first one, not only because it was just run better, but also being over 3 weeks, it did feel a lot longer than the first one, even though it was only 1 week longer. I don't know how it felt so much longer, but yeah, it's been a really good way to sort of give us something to do during the holiday season. Obviously, DICE are actually on holidays at the moment. I think as I'm recording this, they may be back this week or maybe the week after. And so doing this during that, like what would have been a dry period with no updates, it was a really solid thing to do for the player base, because obviously we would have got pretty bored without it. Now moving forward though, if they do, you know, bring back these mid-season events and stuff, I really think they do need to balance the modes as well as they possibly can. I understand that when you're kind of throwing these modes together fairly quickly, I'm sure they do spend a bit of time on them, but this isn't like a legitimate mode that's going to be here permanently where they're obviously going to focus a lot of attention on that. I'm sure these are definitely put together a bit quicker than they would do like a genuine flagship mode, but I do think they need to really try and focus on the balancing a little bit more, because this same sort of thing happened with that first event where the 8 vs 8 and 16 vs 16 modes, they were really just unbalanced, and it unfortunately makes the game not that enjoyable. Even if the mode itself is actually really solid, if one team just kind of wins every time, it just isn't that fun. So I think that's the biggest thing they need to fix in, you know, future mid-season events if they're going to do stuff like this, as well as actually just trying to make the modes a little bit more, like, I guess, drastically different than what they are now. For example, Conquest Assault, it is just Assault, but it starts differently. Like, it's not that different. Breakthrough Chaos, another example, that was just a higher player count and some slight little changes like the grenade distance and stuff. I would love to see them get like genuinely wacky with these modes and do like capture the flag events and conquest, but everyone is in a tank, or like just go nuts with them, because that would make them a bit more memorable. I already think that I'm gonna forget what these modes even were. I actually had to note these down as I was playing week to week, because I literally forgot what the first event was once the second event started. So yeah, I think just balancing the modes better, and also just really like trying to make them a bit more different than what they currently are compared to the regular modes, that would make the, you know, future events a lot better in my opinion. I'm keen to hear what you guys thought of the event though. Which mode was your favorite mode of the 3? For me, like I said, it was definitely Breakthrough Chaos, but I'm keen to hear what you guys think, so be sure to leave your comments down below. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.